G'day guys, it's Calvin from the Coaching Company New Zealand. Alright, just to a little bit of keeping things a little bit personal, I've taken the text from an email I got from a man in Australia, Alex, and I've just popped it into this Word document, and we're going to go through and do some online diagnosis for him. Now this is a paid service, so this video is unlikely to ever be public as such, but it may be in my members section for other members who have paid for some of my time to have a bit of a look through, and people who support me, I will support them. Right, now I have already actually done some checking on this one because I had to confirm that I was going to have the right documents for the man, and I'm trying to also help. At the moment, I'm trying to find my words. I struggle a little bit with people's logic when it comes to diagnosing cars. And so a big part of this is with understanding the principles of what's going on and then laying down a suitable repair procedure. And guys, it doesn't matter if you add some components in your repair procedure that aren't exactly right. The trick is, though, is to put a repair procedure and then do some work on the car. Okay, I suspect in this case it's going to go back to a Sparky, so some of the information I will be providing will be for the Sparkies. And I'll show some of the tricks and some of the new technology we can use. Yes, I'm going to be using some AI on this because it actually worked. And I am crossing my fingers that the results I get today will give me a similar result to what I got the other day, but I can't find where I searched it or which computer I was using. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's read the email. Hi, Calvin. That's a really good start. I have a 1999 Vvti LS400 that is displaying check engine and VSC lights. Important to note, the vehicle make and model. Okay, I actually started looking in for 3UZ because I just briefed over it, and then I went back and went, oh wait, it's an LS400. So those little bits, even I make mistakes, but we double check everything as well. Possibly got the VSC light on because of the engine check light. So what we do in this case is we're going to scan it and we're going to check the main things that we're looking for. We fix the things that we know, not the things that we don't know. I took it to an auto electrician who discovered faults for O2 sensors, which we replaced with Bosch and is now gone. I believe that's the fault codes are now gone. Then we had a further fault code, check cam actuator sensor. Okay, so it was a check cam actuator sensor fault code. I haven't had the timing belt done recently. It has 267,000 kilometers and due for a timing belt at 300,000. And I'm glad he said that, because when I get cam timing codes or fault codes for Vvti operation, it's often just after someone's done a cam belt. So we kind of know, we go, well, it didn't have the fault code before the cam belt. It does after the cam belt. So it's likely related to the cam belt job, and often on the Vvtis, people set up the cam timing wrong. Unlikely the case in this one, okay, because we've got that history then. It's fantastic to have that. Notes, I noticed rough idling about 1 month ago, and I took it to an auto electrician who said it was the oxygen sensors fault and the cam actuator sensor fault. O2 sensors were replaced Bosch and apparently reading nicely now. I'm yet to do a video on showing oxygen sensor readings, but they should fluctuate up and down in the voltage from 0.9 to 0.1 volts. There was a certain frequency, but generally just a nice pattern when you're looking at them on the oscilloscope. You can do it with your multimeter as well. Lexus mechanics thought the loom needed fixing, but I couldn't figure it out otherwise. So they went, maybe there's a problem with the loom. We're going to put that into the notes. The auto electrician recommended an oil flush to fix the cam actuator fault. Another thing that showed up was the check engine light and the check VSV. The front and back bumpers have been off and on again for small repairs, and maybe the panel shop didn't reconnect lights, etc. when putting them back. Okay, so bumper's been off. Good history if the VSV is related to that, but let's focus on that cam actuator code. So pretty much at this point, oxygen sensors code is resolved. We're going to focus, and the focus of this discussion is going to be on that cam actuator fault. Potential Vvti malfunction. I'm thinking 100% Vvti malfunction because it's got a fault for that. Core packs might need replacing. Okay, so again, we don't know. We can test that stuff. We're going to focus on that Vvti. Would I be able to call you sometime to discuss this? I watched a video with the LS400 cam actuators being replaced. How did that car end up? Now, I think that was probably Alice's car with the whole actuator he may have been talking about. And on that one, what had happened is some silicon had got into the actuator. There are very fine tolerances in there, and they stopped moving. They couldn't turn. I'm hoping that isn't the case in this car. Okay, there are some Vvti oil filters, little triangle things. I just bought some again recently. They are tiny in the amount of flow that can go through there, so they aren't that common for blocking. So if the vehicle's had some service history, though the Sparky did, and Sparky Auto Electrician did recommend an oil flush, and it's not going to hurt it. But I don't think it's going to be the solution. But you need to do some testing. Okay, now, as per normal, my time is valuable, just like a lawyer, just like a doctor. I charge for my time. So we made a deal. Alex accepted, and he's paid me. We're going to move on, and I'll see with the response. Just wait right there. Right, he sent me a photo of the Odo. It's got check engine on the screen. It's got the little red light on. There, it's got the Odo of 243. So different Odo. Might have been a little while ago. The vehicle's running. The temperature's about right, and it's got some fuel in the tank. And guys, check this out. I think you'll find on the USA spec on the left-hand, right-hand drive cars that this alters, because the shifter certainly does. The useless stuff that I know about these things. He's got another photo too. Right, photo of the car over in Australia, outside the gym. Fairly standard looking car. Right, that's so again important just to remember what car we're working on. It's a 99 LS400. Right, let's see what else we can find here. Right, as per normal, we had some discussions, and one of the things that I really wanted was I wanted the exact code for that cam actuator. So I know what I'm chasing, the exact code, not someone's interpretation of the code, not someone thinking that that might be what the code might be. I want the number from Toyota, from the scan tool. And Alex has sent me that. It's really good, actually. Another thing that I do, guys, is when I'm doing this, I do sometimes ask some questions to see the level of knowledge of the person I'm working with. And if a person can actually just say, I don't know, because that's a totally valid answer. I can work with that better than some know-it-all trying to get one over me and think that they know what they're talking about, because I'll pick up on it generally pretty quick. So I really appreciate guys' honesty when they give me this stuff, and to just follow my instructions, because that's important when we're trying to diagnose it. So let's read this. Hi Calvin, I got the car scanned again, and the code is P1354 Vvti system bank 2. The check VSC has gone, and the code for the oxygen sensors has gone, as well as they were replaced. Good. The auto electrician recommended an oil flush. I had the rocker cover gaskets replaced about 30,000 Ks ago. So I am worried that maybe too much silicon might have been used after watching one of your videos. He did include the link to Alice's LS400 that did have the silicon in the actuator. For the silicon to get in there, it then has to go from doing the tapper cover gaskets. It has to go down to the bottom of the sump, through the pickup, through the oil pump, through the oil galleries, through the Vvti filter, and into the actuator. Highly unlikely. Okay, Alex, so I'm going to cross my fingers a little bit. Excuse me. I do have a cold at the moment. Got me on the weekend. Right. And there we have that code, P1354. That is absolutely fantastic. Right, I'm now going to jump over and we need to write a repair procedure for this vehicle, or a suggested repair procedure, and we'll have a discussion over that. Excuse me. Okay, so I've been using some online AI to help some of my customers with some of this. And a big part of this is asking good questions. The question I've actually asked here was to explain in technical terms or scientific terms, suck exists in physics, and it pretty much says it's a colloquial way of explaining the movement of pressure from high, or fluid movement from a high pressure zone to a low pressure zone. Suck itself doesn't exist. And I use that one because it's one that I'm quite passionate about, and it's how engines work. Not everyone gets it. We were doing some other ones you can actually see over here. I've been trying to write some other bits and pieces that will use it. And the Paul lock. And again, teaching myself and understanding and using this as a point of reference. Also wrote one about, a guy asked about the differences in octane ratings of fuels around the world. And the way they are measured. So I used it very quickly to give an explanation instead of me having to explain it step by step. Bang, done, thank you, gone. Making me faster because there's only one of me. Right, let's get in and write this for a P1354. Okay, so here is my suggested question. And when you're doing this, and all things actually, the better questions that you ask, or the better questions that we ask, I should say, the better questions that are asked, then the better the response will be. I get lots of different questions, and I'm becoming a lot harder on the people that ask me questions. I was recently asked, what does it mean when your timing's loose? Pretty much these days, those are going to get very sarcastic answers, because I can't be bothered with people who can't ask good questions. Oh, my postie's here. I'll just see if there's a computer arrived. Anyway, apparently saying that when your timing's loose, it'll probably sleep with anyone is a bit of a dick answer. I thought it was hilariously funny. Anyway, so I've got this question here. Could I please have a suggested diagnose and repair procedure for code P1354 on a 1999 Lexus LS400 fitted with a 1UZ FE 4-litre Vvti engine? What I might actually do is pop in fault code. If you wanted a rundown on the system or the sensors involved, you could also ask that, and it may give good results. Let's see, I'm going to risk it here, and I'm going to push that send button. It's different from what I got the other day. Let's see what we've got in here, eh? Fault code P1354 on a 1999 Lexus LS400 with a 1UZ FE 4-litre Vvti engine typically indicates a problem with the variable valve timing Vvti system. No shit, Sherlock. That's amazing. But the great thing about this is this doesn't care about your knowledge or my knowledge. Okay, it's just knowledge to the system, and it doesn't have hard feelings. It doesn't have emotions at this point in time. It doesn't give a shit. Okay, if you're the top technician or at the very other end, it's just going to give you information, because that's all it's doing. It's just finding it, reviewing it, and spitting it out. The Vvti system is responsible for adjusting the timing of the engine's intake and exhaust valves to optimize performance and efficiency. When this code is triggered, it means that the Vvti system is experiencing an issue. Here's some suggested diagnostic and repair procedure. Hey, that's good. Check for symptoms. Start by looking for any noticeable symptoms such as rough idling, reduced engine performance, hesitation during acceleration, or an illuminated check engine light. We have an illuminated check engine light. That's good. Scan the engine control module. Use an OBD2 scanner to retrieve specific trouble code P1354 along with other related codes. This may help you pinpoint the problem area. Good. It does say, and I know you can't see me pointing at the screen, check for other related codes. Okay, that is really important. And actually, when we move on, we're going to look for other codes anyway. We're going to have a look at some of the information contained in the other codes surrounding P1354. Now, this one hits the nail on the head for me. This is where I would have said, okay, inspect electrical connectors. The LS400s and the LS430s and the older non-VVTIs, the electrical connectors fall apart. So LS400 99, the one used at VVTI, if it's had a cam actuator plug connector fall apart and it's been put together incorrectly, or the VVTI cam position sensors in the middle of the cylinder head, again, those ones fall apart. In fact, I was doing a 3UZ loom last night and I'm changing the core plugs. That one's all good. That one's all good. Injector connectors, they were okay, but starting to fall apart. Got to the cam position sensor and it just disintegrated. And the VVTI position sensor disintegrated. And the cam position one was really interesting because it looked intact until I put my little pokey tool in it and it just goes crack, falls apart. Big problem in there. These ones also have a problem in the wiring. Not sure if that's been brought up, but we'll discuss that too. Okay, so inspect electrical connectors. Ensure that all electrical connectors related to the VVTI system, including those on the VVTI solenoids and sensors, are clean, free from corrosion, and securely connected. As I said, they break, they fall apart. Check engine oil level and condition. Low or dirty engine oil can affect the VVTI system's performance. Verify the engine oil level and condition. If the oil is old or contaminated, consider changing it. It's not going to hurt just to change it anyway. So that flush and oil change, not a bad idea in any state of form. So if it is due or coming up for due for a service, just change it. Put a flush through it. Though I would generally do this other diagnosis first, and then that would be part of it. And certainly if I'm changing solenoids, I'd be changing that oil. Inspect VVTI solenoids. Now, solenoids can come out, and they can be tested manually. I've defaulted to the other side, and I bought a 2J that's got a faulty VVTI solenoid. Hopefully, I'll get time to show the test technique for that. So, inspect VVTI solenoids. The VVTI system uses solenoids to control oil flow to the VVTI actuator. Check that the VVTI solenoids for proper operation and electrical continuity. If any sensor is faulty, replace it. So you can check the resistance. Now let's say you don't have the resistance of the solenoids. You've got two of them. Okay, same as the cam position sensors. You've got two of them. Oh, that's for the VVTI cam position. So you can check the resistance of one and check the resistance of the other. Same on the solenoids. Check the resistance of one. If the resistance is vastly different, then we can suspect that there is a problem because they should be about the same resistance. So that even if you don't have specs, you've still got specs that you can make up yourself just by thinking of the fact that you've got two of them. With the VVTI position sensors in the middle of the cylinder head, there's two of them. So you can swap left to right. See if the issue moves. If it does, then it can be the sensor. Unfortunately, on the Vvti solenoids, they are not the same. The plugs are different, so it's not an option for you to swap them. Sorry, nice try, but good thinking to think of that. Hey, why can't we just do that? When we look at it, they are different. Okay, so we've checked the solenoids. Test Vvti sensors. We've pretty much gone through that. The Vvti system relies on various sensors, such as the camshaft position sensor and the crankshaft position sensor, to determine the engine's position and adjust the valve timing accordingly. Test these sensors for correct readings and replace any defective ones. So the cam and crank sensors on the front of the engine are a consideration, but they'd be further down my list. The Vvti position in the middle of the heads would be higher, and I often see them, again, they fall apart. There's some broken wires. I actually did some, again, I was down in Queenstown, had a helicopter ride. I haven't managed to edit that video yet, but it was having some of these sorts of codes, and it came down to a poor connector on the Vvti position sensors. I've got brand new ones in stock, so it's an easy one for me, and whenever we touch these cars and do tapper covers, like Alice's car, all the connectors fell apart. I just put new ones on. So I see less of these problems because I've got connectors in stock. Okay, inspect Vvti oil control valve filter. Now that is tucked underneath the front cam caps. You have to take because of the way it's set up, you would have seen, if you did watch the other video, there's the cap sits underneath the cam bout pulley. So you can't just pop it off and check it, you have to pull a cam bout off it. This would be on my list, but further down my list. Some Vvti systems have a small filter in the oil control valve to prevent debris and clogging the system. If your vehicle has this filter, inspect it for blockages and clean and replace as necessary. Let me just pull up a diagram of the system and we'll have a look. Just wait there. Okay, so this is not the best picture, but it is a picture. We have oil control valve there, the valve assembly, oil control valve, and that sits into it actually sits into the front cam cap here, and there is the little filter, oil control valve filter. And a Google comes up, it looks like that. That is what the little filter is. And as I said, it's tucked in the front cam cap. Very, very fine. If stuff gets through that, then you've really got problems. But of course, if it comes blocked up, you have to be pretty harsh on your vehicle servicing to get that filter blocked up. It is possible, but it's probably further down my list. Filter, checked Vvti actuators operation. The Vvti actuator is responsible for adjusting the cam timing. Verify the actuator is functioning correctly and not sticking. Sometimes carbon deposits can cause actuator to bind. Right, so to check the actuator, the tappet covers need to come off. The front covers are probably ideally removed as well, so you can access the front of the actuator to put a socket on it, but you can probably get away with just removing the tappet covers. You put a big spanner on it and you move the cam back and forth through the rotation. And I've showed that again on Alice's one, so this is a great video for Alex to be watching. I would do some electrical testing before I got to that point in time. If you've got a scanner that gives some live data on a Vvti position, and not all of them do, you can actually check whether it's advancing or retarding, and that would be really helpful. A lot of this older stuff, it doesn't always have that though. Okay, so, but again, with building up this list of things to check, it's a great way of improving your diagnosis because you don't miss anything. And I'm finding that things like these chatbots are great for adding the little shit that I would often miss for the fact that I would assume, my mistake, that people would just check that stuff or have that knowledge. Again, chatbot don't care. They don't care about your level of knowledge. They're just going to put out the information. And the way to improve the chatbot is, if you want greater knowledge, is to ask better questions. And that's why the question that I've asked actually is given us a good answer here, because it is exact for what we need. Okay. Examine timing belt chain. Ensure that the timing belt or timing chain is in good condition and correctly aligned. It's a timing belt on a UZ. See, the chatbot doesn't know that. A worn or misaligned timing belt can affect the Vvti system's performance. Absolutely. So that's why knowing that it's had a cam belt done recently or not is important. Inspect oil pressure. Oh, great suggestion, but at that point it's the engine stuff, throw it away. Low oil pressure can prevent the Vvti system from functioning correctly. Measure the oil pressure and compare with the manufacturer's specifications. Great suggestion. Okay. Based on the diagnostic findings, perform the necessary repairs, which may include cleaning or replacing electrical connectors and wiring, which we've discussed. Replacing faulty Vvti solenoids or sensors, where we need to find out which ones. Cleaning or replacing the Vvti control valve filter, absolutely. Timing belt, repairing the Vvti actuator, replacing or ensuring that engine oil is correct and clean. Good. It's essential to clear the fault code after performing repairs and then conduct a road test to verify the issue has been resolved. If the engine check light does not reappear, the vehicle's performance is back to normal, the repair procedure is successful. Now, that is fantastic, okay? And so many people that come to me ask me stuff, and I said, have you cleared the codes? And they're like, beg your pardon? I'm like, after you've done your repair, have you cleared the codes? And they're like, no, we haven't. So after you do a repair, you clear the codes, and then you recheck it. You retest drive it, see if it all works like it should. That's important. Some general stuff here. Doesn't do anything. ChatGPT only works on stuff before September 2021. And the specific details of about a 1999 Lexus LS400 may vary. And that is very true. Different repair manuals will give different information. Even some of the Toyota stuff isn't always correct. Always refer to the vehicle service manual. Use appropriate tools, safety measures when diagnosing automotive issues. Yes. If you're not experienced with car repairs, it is best to consult a qualified mechanic or automotive technician for accurate diagnosis and repair. Fantastic line too, because there's a lot of guys that are working on these cars that shouldn't be. And there's a lot of guys who are very smart actually and want to have the knowledge, but also know their limitations and prefer to take it to a garage to fix. There's also a lot of Sparkies out there that lack some of the knowledge, and it's not their fault because there are so many cars they're trying to work on. I actually feel real sorry for them, that getting the right information for the vehicles is so important, and it's really hard when you're trying to do a general repair across a lot of vehicles. And that's why Alex has come to me. Right, I'm going to get some more information for Alex. So let's get some factory manuals going on, eh? Through to the factory manuals, let's see what they say. Ta-da! Vvti system malfunction bank 1, Vvti malfunction bank 2. Now this is the bang on correct information, and I'm hoping it is for the LS400. No, I'm almost 100% certain this is for LS400. I did get it out last week. There's been a weekend in there, and I will just, what I'm going to do is it's got some pinouts. I'm going to find my book before I go ahead and go, yes, this is 100% correct. I'm going to just verify that, because that's what we should do as a diagnostic procedure. So I have brought up, this is a 99 LS400, but a 98 and 99 are the same. And this is part of the wiring diagram. Now, if this is looking like squiggles to you, then tell me. I've got some videos, and I will do more videos on understanding wiring diagram, because to me that is base knowledge. Okay, and if you're trying to diagnose it and you don't know how to read this, then you've got a problem. You're not going to get the max out of it. Of course, I believe this is probably going to go to a Sparky, so I will give this diagram like this, and I will also give an ECU pinout. It'll look like this. So here's a pinout. Yes, it's in Japanese, that bit, but the numbers and stuff aren't. And we've got E14, OCV negative. And sometimes between these different diagrams, these designations do change. So that is the right places, 19 and 20. We look over at these diagrams, 19 and 20. So that's the correct ones there. So we come back to here, OCV plus, OCV negative, 19 and 20 on E14, and then E11, 19 and 28. Now, on a swap, little hint here, lots of guys miss this because it's in the body plugs and it has to go back through the main body harness to ECU harness plug to get to the sensors on the loom. So that would be another one to look at on this particular vehicle, the 26 pin plug between the engine harness and the cabin harness. It's got a clip on it. Check that those are firmly put into place. Right, so we've got here, this is the exact codes. It controls the intake valve timing to intake valve timing to proper timing in response to valve to driving condition. Now, you notice the other one said intake and exhaust. Both of them are kind of correct. We need to understand that we're actually the exhaust cam runs off the inlet cam. So, but in the Vvti, the camshaft is behind that. So it does actually only adjust the intake cam. The ChatGPT, because may assume the fact that because it's on a scissor gear on the intake cam, that it may adjust the exhaust cam, but it doesn't. Okay, it is solely on the intake because of that's the way the system's put together. The ECM controls OCV, oil control valve, and using the correct words is important so we all understand the stuff. So sometimes I even have to check with people that we're using the same abbreviations or same designations of different parts. To make intake valve timing properly, it kind of seems like it's being translated from another language, doesn't it? And oil pressure controlled with OCV is supplied to the Vvti controller, and then Vvti controller changes relative position between the camshaft and the crankshaft. Okay, so we've got, here's the codes. Now this is the conditions at which it will throw the fault code. And this is also very important when we're trying to do diagnosis, that we know what conditions will set that code. Condition A or B continues after the engine is warmed up and engine speed at 400 to 4,000 RPM. So just drive it at 4,200 RPM all the time, and it won't throw any codes for Vvti. It's very unlikely it'll idle below 400. Valve timing does not change from the current valve timing, or the current valve timing is fixed. The valve timing does not change from the current valve timing, or it's fixed. Being fixed means it doesn't change. It's possibly mean that throughout the time it doesn't change at all. With the other one, it doesn't change when it's commanded to. Could be trouble areas, valve timing. That's the cam belt. So we've discussed that, and it's always worth having a bit of a look. Oil control valve, the Vvti solenoid, the Vvti controller assembly, the actuator, or the ECU. And in that order. So many people on the internet will jump straight to the ECU without testing the other stuff. You test the other stuff, if they all passes, then it's ECU, and that's how you diagnose the ECU. not the other way around. Here's a wiring diagram. So what I would recommend the AutoSparky to do is check the resistance from the ECU for the Vvti solenoids. I'd also suggest doing the same thing for the Vvti position sensors. So I'll find that document as well, and I'll be sending this document to Alex so he can take it to a Sparky and they can have a discussion over how to do it, and of course the Sparky can watch this video. If they have any questions, they are welcome to phone me. I'm over my time limit now, but I don't really care. It's we're going to get through this and trying to make sure we include everything. So mainly concerned about oil control bank 2. So this one is in one of the body plugs, one of the 2 body plugs. Down here. Right, it suggests using some live data to monitor the Vvti movements and the conditions that were set and the reason it was set. If it doesn't actually say so much about checking resistances, but I still recommend doing resistances. I also recommend taking the solenoids out and checking them on the bench, seeing if they move, checking that they are free and that there's no restriction in the way that they move. Though it won't always give a good reading if it is intermittent and it's caused by a short in the windings intermittently. So sometimes when you check the resistance, if it isn't faulting at that particular time, it will test out fine. To look at that, you really need then to be able to look at the command from the ECU and the resulting movement to identify where the problem is. Okay. This one here, it says the codes are also output when there's a foreign object caught in a part of the system in the engine oil, and the system then returns to normal in a short time. We hope that there's not stuff in the oil, and it's very hard to find that, but if it consistently comes back, it indicates that that is not the problem. Here it is showing the controller, and you can do the movement as we discussed. Also talks about whether the oil is drained from the assembly or not, because the oil for the Vvti solenoid, the solenoid controls oil inflow and outflow from the actuator, and that's why it talks about the oil draining from it. Would I normally be that far in? No. I'm not suspecting it's an actuator fault at this point in time. Though again, I haven't tested it. I would be going with solenoid or wiring connector or Vvti position, and the Vvti position sensors don't often fail. More likely a wiring type fault, but the actuator would probably be my 3rd or 4th choice. Check these pipes are blocked. Okay, now other things to check. Have I got it here? This one, Vvti sensor circuit malfunction. Now this one refers to the Vvti position sensors, as we talked about, the ones in the middle of the cylinder head. I highly recommend checking the resistance of these circuits as well. Highly recommend. Because the ECU doesn't know whether the actuators worked or the solenoids worked until it gets its feedback from the Vvti position sensors. And if the Vvti position sensors don't give the right information back, then it can't bring up that other code anyway. This is how it tells whether the cam timing has actually changed. It's not magic. It doesn't have like a Bluetooth thingy on the engine bay and goes, yeah, the cam timing's changed. Ooh. Comes back through these 2 sensors, which are in the middle of the cylinder heads. And I suspect that guys are going to take them off and they're going to crumble apart. And it's going to be fantastic. And then Alex is going, have you got any? And I'll just send some over to Australia. Or we'll get some part numbers. Okay. So I check resistance from the ECU through the circuits to the sensor and back again. Okay, there's a little picture with an oscilloscope. Please let there be one. There it is. Waveform. There's your oscilloscope with the VV position sensor. Waveform. Okay. As I said, there are two sensors, so you can swap left to right just fine. And I highly recommend doing that as part of the check and checking those sensors. Okay. I was actually looking around on another job with regard to some base knowledge on how these sensors, how these reluctor sensors work. And I'm sure there'll be some guys that don't actually understand this. I was actually reading on the Howtech site. It's got some information about cam and crank sensors, and then it's got reluctor sensors. And look, then there's a little picture on a very primitive oscilloscope showing what's going on, how it's reading it. That base knowledge is also very, very helpful, guys. Now I'm wondering if this might be, yes, okay. Here's some other fault codes. To do with the, and again, it comes down to those center camshaft position sensors. And so we've got some other codes, even though they're not popping up, I still kind of read that information because it's surrounding cam position, cam timing. So I'm going to also forward that to Alex. Now, if the Auto Sparky has a dual channel oscilloscope, they can then scope both the cam, crank, and the two Vvti position sensors if they got 4 channels. And that would then give them a greater idea of what's going on. Once I've scoped that, check that they can actually check whether the cam time is right if they do that one. They could then scope the output from the ECU for the OCV, the oil control valve output. Both positive and negative come from the ECU. Send that out and check the position as well with the input from the VVL sensor. Other things you can do: unplug the other sensor. So unplug the number bank 1 left-hand sensor and see what code we get. Unplug the ones in the middle of the cylinder, the VVTI position or VVL position sensors. Unplug those, see what codes you get. These are all good ways of diagnosing what's going on. I'm picking it's a connector or a VVTI position sensor. I could be wrong, but hopefully I'm going to give this information to Alex. I'm going to watch the video. I'm going to give him a call and have a chat. There we go. Here's some pictures of, and here's some resistances, which is absolutely fantastic to have to check those sensors. Let me see if I can get hold of Alex, have a quick chat. I'll get some information over to him. I'm going to send this information, and then I'm going to wrap this up. But right now I'm going to do that stuff, and we'll see how we get on. If this is the end, this is the end. Let's see how we get on. And I've made a bit of a video of some information I want to send to you.
Oh, great.
And I'm just wondering if you're okay that you're included in my video.
Oh, yeah, no worries, mate.
You'll be okay?
Fine.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Now, at 99 LS400, P1354, and
the code, yep.
That's the code. And you've been working with a Sparky. Are you intending to have the Sparky look at the repair, or are you going to look at it yourself?
Well, the Sparky's looking at it again today.
Yep. Good.
They got rid of the
okay.
oxygen sensor issue because we replaced the oxygen sensor. Yeah.
Do you want me to ring the Sparky and have a chat with him? Because I've got some information that's probably going to be helpful for the Sparky.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Okay. Are you close to your computer now?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Can you just flick me the number of the Sparky, and I'll give him a call. What I'm going to do is I'm going to forward it over some spec sheets.
Okay.
And so he can have a bit of a read, and we'll have a quick chat with him. I'll talk to him directly for you, and we'll see if we can get it nailed and get some checks done, eh? And I've done a video on some of the information for you.
Excellent.
So that pretty much covers most of the stuff, but I'll talk directly with the Sparky and forward him the information that's required, and we'll try and get this car sorted, eh?
Okay, good on you. Thanks,
Alex.
Calvin. I'll let him know that you're going to give him a call, and I'll send you his number.
Yeah, mate.
And if you could just CC me into the email, so I've got all the spec sheets and stuff as well, in case I need to take it to another mechanic or whatever.
Yeah, mate. Cool. No problem.
Good on you.
Cool.
Right, thanks.
That's awesome. Thanks, Alex. Have a great day. See you, mate.
Thanks, mate. See you,
bye. Hey, g'day, guys. Again. This one's been sitting in my editing suite for a while because I wanted to put the update in, and Alex's car is resolved now, and it's nice to put it all in the same video. I've got some of the emails that we've communicated back and forth on. Of course, I've taken out the bits that shows the email address and stuff like that. I do my best to respect people's privacy. And so Alex came back to me. I actually said, hey, how's it going? What's going on with his car? Where are we at? And the auto electrician cleaned the solenoids and apparently didn't get the fault codes again. And it's been running well since. So that is definitely the best case scenario for this. But it does question of why it's dirty, what's happened. Also, we looked at getting a new engine loom, wiring harness, engine loom wiring harness, as some of the clips are broken, but the OEM is like 3,000 plus. Yeah, they're expensive. I do lots of refabs. The main question I have is, do you think I should do an oil flush? What should I use? I was recommended to do this to clean out the Vvti. Yes, absolutely, you want to do an oil flush, and I did reply that. I use a Worth product, Worth oil flush. They work very well. And certainly if it is getting a cambout job, absolutely change the Vvti oil filter in this car. It's a little 21 up in the front cam cap. It's not so easy to do without you have to remove the front, the pulley, the cambout pulley. So it's best to do it when you do the cambout job. And I also do lots of refabs, which I've got some videos on. I've got one coming up on a 3Z when I get around to editing it. And he thanked me, of course. Excellent news. Excellent. Thanks, Calvin. I'll do this and get back to you. Really appreciate it. I'll be needing your services quite a bit in the future as things pop up. These cars are great, and it's awesome to have such an expert around. If only I could bring the car into your shop. And I get that a lot. A lot of guys wish they lived in New Zealand and could bring me the cars. So glad to help out on this one. I do endeavour to do a bit of online diagnosis, but it does come down to the amount of time I've got for work in the workshop. At the moment, my workshop is cranking, it's packed, so unfortunately I can't help with everybody. There's just only one of me, but really good news. Alex's car sorted. Happy days. Hope that's been helpful, and we'll talk to you soon. Catch you later.